The views and opinions expressed in the following podcast do not necessarily reflect those of the producers, the affiliates, or digital platforms hosting this podcast. All content is for the purposes of education, conjecture, and at times entertainment. We promote inclusiveness and diversity. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Into the Deep with Jay Costa.
Welcome to Into the Deep. I'm Jay Costa. I am excited about the return of today's guest. She's a past life energy healer. She's a spiritual teacher, a Reiki master, an author, and yes, a hypnotherapist. Today's returning guest is Wendy Rose Williams. We talk about spirit guides and the plethora of unique forms that our guides can take in our lives and our dreams. Wendy even takes some time and walks us through a guided meditation. So join me as we seek light and journey into the deep with Wendy Rose Williams. Enjoy. Wendy, thank you so much for coming back on the show. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, it is my pleasure to be here, Jay. Just glad to be back with you again and your wonderful listeners.
Oh, well, I can tell you, folks really resonated with that episode that we did. We had some people messaging us and asking us a lot of questions, and
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a fantastic time. I really enjoyed the fact that we were getting great, positive, specific feedback on the episode, and people just, really resonated with it. But maybe for those who aren't sure, maybe this is their first time because the way the internet works, maybe this is their first introduction to you. Would you mind sharing who you are and what it is you do, my friend?
Absolutely. My name is Wendy Rose Williams, and I am a past life energy healer. And what I do is help people release energy that doesn't serve them anymore. Pain, anxiety, depression, stuck creativity. And when we're able to release those things that don't serve us anymore, we can really move into that place where we have a happier life, healthier life, and where we feel like we're living one with purpose. So that's what I do. And it's a privilege. It's a lot of fun.
I bet. And I'm sure, I think a lot of folks who might not necessarily understand what's involved with that, it can seem a little overwhelming, I'm sure.
Sure. So what I do, sessions are one-on-one via Zoom, and they last either 2.5 or 4 hours. And the sessions are grounded in hypnotherapy. So it's just helping you visualize, helping you relax, helping you gently tap into that soul wisdom, as well as to your subconscious, and just being able to let go of the things that don't serve you anymore. And vice versa is also true, which is to be able to bring forth those past abilities. And that's just a big deal, because if you want to be a writer, for example, and we can find lives where you used to be a writer, you were keeping a diary, you were a journalist, you wrote for the local paper, you were a scribe, just depending how far back in history we're going. It can really just help build our confidence to say, oh my goodness, I've done this before. I'm just building on those past abilities.
And do you find that there are folks maybe who they're, apprehensive at first because there's a little trepidation going into something, some uncharted territories for them?
Absolutely. So what I tell people, I was absolutely one of those people when I went in as a client, the first time was like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Am I going to experience anything at all? I was just worried I was plunking down money and a couple hours of my time, because of course there's an investment. So, and when you hear, well, don't have any expectations, that's kind of hard for us to do as humans. So, but just being able to release them to the best of our ability. And I just kind of position it as, well, I'm going to have an interesting experience one way or another. And I don't know what's going to happen. And I just have to be as comfortable as I can be with that. And either I'm going to get some relaxation or release some things or find out some interesting things. Maybe I'll actually be able to access past lives. I just don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I'll learn more about myself. When you go in with that perspective, then you're guaranteed, you're just going to have something helpful happen for you. So, because it's a great question. And it's one everyone has. People can feel because you can feel, nervous in a good way, or you can feel nervous in I want to, put the brakes on. So it's just getting people to be able to relax and know that. And sessions, they're designed specifically to just help you, as I said, get to know yourself better. And that's why we go to a healing temple. That's why we meet with a spirit guide during session, which we're going to do more of today. We're going to focus on spirit guides and actually having a mini version of that experience. That's why we go into the past life in quotes, because it might be scenes earlier in this lifetime, because those might benefit from reframing. Or we might go to a parallel or simultaneous life. We might go to future life potentiality. So you can kind of hear from that description, oh my goodness, past life. Now I'm kind of hearing that wheel of time just spinning where it needs to go. Because the prompt that I share with people, and I tell them ahead and make sure they're comfortable with it, is that they're going to go to the time and place with the most healing and information for their life today. So that's how we build the sacred space and just set the intent, because we want to improve life now. So just let's be practical and uplifting about it. And then the final thing we do is we go up to the light. We leave specifically a last day in a previous life. Make sure the person's very comfortable. They know that their soul is eternal and cannot die. And that's where a lot of people then get to release that fear of death. And that's a really big thing too. So there's just a lot of benefits. And we go up to the light and we meet with a guide or a greeter who welcomes us home. And then we debrief what we've done and then go to that place of all knowledge, which includes the Akashic Records, which is this big, beautiful book of life, because everyone's got a book of life. And that helps a lot of people relax too and just feel more confident. Because when we see this huge book, many people say it's just a huge book. And some describe like all the light coming up from it. Some will say, oh my goodness, it's beautiful because it's just these gold edged pages. And just to be able to see that and to realize that that's just all the experiences they've had, captured in this one place. It's just a big deal. And then we ask their guide to answer the specific questions that they have about their health, about their wealth or finances or career, about their important relationships, and miscellaneous questions, anything they want to know about their karma. Are they still transmuting some of their karma just as lessons, not as punishment, but as lessons, to be able to raise their vibration and move on to new things? Are they able to get on the dharmic path? And what does that really mean? Are there soul contracts that need to be adjusted? What did that interesting dream I had last week or that I just keep having mean? Those sorts of things, or whatever other interesting experience they've had. People might ask about interplanetary experiences, so something with an ET or intergalactic, or having seen a spaceship, that sort of thing. What did that mean? Was that really possible? Why did that happen? Why did the person standing next to them not see it? That sort of thing. Why are we having different experiences standing right next to each other? Or interdimensional. People are having memories as fairies, as mermaids, as dolphins, just all types of things. Is that really possible? And what might that mean? So the world's our oyster, and just being able to see what's important for us so that we can feel that we are in that place where we feel peace and where we feel love and joy and connection, and where we feel like we have a purpose and can live that purpose, versus feeling just so disenfranchised or feeling like it's the doom and gloom report every day, which
Right.
it is if you turn on the news. And the news is programming in my experience, programming for lowering our vibration. So sometimes we're not meant to watch it. Many people are not meant to watch it. If you have issues with anxiety, depression, if you're high sensitive, if you're an empath,
Mhm.
perhaps you're not meant to watch it and can instead information seek. I'm
Right.
not saying, bury your head in the sand and have no clue what's going on in the world, but there's powerful ways we can information seek versus having this agenda spoon fed to us for 60 to 90 minutes or whatever amount of time you might choose to watch the news. So,
I love that. I love the way you articulated information seek. And that is probably the most important thing that I think a lot of folks probably miss the mark on. And like you said, not keeping our head in the sand.
mhm.
We want to get the information and we can, discern where we're getting it from source wise, but it's not sensationalized. It's not all these images that are just bombarding our psyche, and you're right. It tends to more often than not feel like doom and gloom. Um,
Yes,
it,
yes.
so that's a great call out.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's important because I know for myself when I was younger, it impacted me in a very strong way, and I didn't realize why. And it was only through my adult years that I realized that I just can't watch the news. So I am one of those people who cannot watch the news. Uh,
Right, right. Just not meant to,
no,
because it's part of our boundaries and discernment and personal choice because we do have free will, and that's a great gift to us. So we get
sure is.
we get to choose.
Right on. That's awesome. So, if you don't mind me asking, we're talking about like maybe even, with some of we talk about even just the programming, watching something, listening to things. Our psyches, in my opinion, it feels like we're constantly being bombarded with all of these different thoughts and energies, and then now tying it back to maybe past life. Maybe there's some other traumas that maybe we've experienced in a previous life, and we're carrying it with us. Is that something you see with some
You're
some of your?
exactly right.
Okay.
So what we do is we look to find the lifetime of origin. Because if there's issues with fears and phobias, and there doesn't seem to be a reason for it in the present life, it may be from very early preschool days. Let's say you've got the little toddler who's a year old, and you're pushing them in the stroller, and you go by the neighbor's fence, and their dog just gets really upset and is barking and jumping at the fence, and that little baby, that toddler, like really startles, and they don't have the perspective. We know as an adult, we assess, it's like, it's okay, it's behind a fence, it's okay, it's just a little bit too energized, everything's fine. But we may not even say anything to the baby. We just keep on pushing the stroller. So they may end up having a fear of dogs, and because it happened that young, and they don't have a conscious memory of it, and it wasn't a big enough event for mom or dad to think to mention it to them. But more often it's from earlier. It is from previous lives if there just doesn't seem to be a rational explanation or memory of it. And I look at it as a good thing because when a fear is coming up, it's just an opportunity to up level, or just not even, doesn't have to be a fear. It can be an emotion. And I'll just tell a story on myself so you can all laugh at me because we're all human, and getting triggered, I really look at it as a good thing. So I'm dating someone brand new, a lovely, attentive gentleman, and he just got busy and just didn't have time to text or call that day. I was surprised how much that triggered me because I was just really enjoying that we were communicating regularly. And
Mhm.
again, we're getting to know each other. So we don't, quite know communication styles, et cetera. And I felt abandoned. And at first I started to shove it down. I'm like, oh, Wendy, that is ridiculous. I mean, that is just, get a hold of yourself. And I started to have like the pep talk. And then I thought, no, be brave. Let's just dig a little bit deeper. Let's see, why am I feeling abandoned? Because this is just a convenient trigger. What if I turn this over to my higher self and guides and angels and say, hey, do I have an issue with abandonment? Oh my gosh, within 2 minutes, I am crying and just a hot mess. And it was really therapeutic because it brought up some young childhood stuff. It brought up a couple episodes, one as a preschooler and one as a 12-year-old. And then I could just put it all in context and say, oh my gosh, how do we heal this? Because I'm a healthy adult woman and I didn't realize I was still carrying this. So thank you, for having had just that simple little thing come up, and that I did not stuff it and didn't just, say, oh, that's ridiculous. That's what I started to do. So, but I peeled the onion a little bit further. So those sorts of triggers come up, and they're really helpful. So when you feel an emotion, when you feel triggered by something, I realize it may not be the perfect, convenient moment. You may need to put a pin in it, but deal with it that day. I think if you can deal with it that day, that is very, very helpful.
That's great advice. And you're right. I think that happens so often if, for those of us that maybe have those triggers or maybe we have those experiences, it becomes almost this normal, routine to just kind of like talk ourselves through it, squash it, and then just keep moving on through our day. Right. And not addressing that there's obviously an issue here, because I wouldn't have felt this way if there wasn't an issue.
Exactly. We can over intellectualize things,
Sure.
We can just like shove it in a box. And really, it's a lot healthier to just probe it a little bit further and look at, okay, what is the emotion coming up here? And what is this really about? And then I'm a big fan of the fire pit outside. And if you don't have a fire pit, just use a coffee can and just write on a sticky note, I feel, and I wrote down, I feel abandoned. And you don't even have to know why, but just being able to name that emotion. And then I went outside and, through my little fit, really dug out that emotion. And then just, to me, burning it up, it's very symbolic of surrendering it up to the divine. And it's just like, you can literally just watch that smoke go. And then it was like, oh gosh, I feel way better. And I have purged that emotion because I didn't need to be carrying it anymore.
Right.
Because those, 2 instances that had happened when I was young, they're just not an issue anymore. But I was still carrying that residual energy, going back to your question.
Right on. And it's just so fascinating because, you brought up, something earlier, about like, even dreams. Why am I having these dreams? What's locked in my subconscious that I'm dragging around every single day?
Exactly. Particularly those recurring dreams that you've had many times, dreams that are especially vivid and just so catch your attention. And if you notice in those dreams that the clothing, the music, the cars, the lighting, anything is out of time, it's not current day, guess what? You have very likely got some past life memories surfacing. So just try and work with it. I find it really helpful to keep a dream diary. So as soon as I wake up, I just kind of like, okay, what I remember, and see if there's a useful dream from the previous night, and just jot down some notes. And then over time, that notebook can get really useful because you can pick out themes, you can see recurring dreams, and you can go back and compare. Are there new elements being added to it? And can you, over time, learn to become a lucid dreamer, where you are starting to take control of things and starting to change outcomes in a more positive way? So
I love that. It's it's funny because I can think back to just a few of those recurring dreams that I've had over my lifetime. As a kid, I had these certain ones, and then as an adult, I had these others, and like I just tried to dig as deep as I could, with all the dream journals and writing stuff down. And you know, once I got into the habit of doing it, it was fine, and I found that I was remembering my dreams more often versus
Yes.
yeah, versus just not even acknowledging them. I know I have a dream, but I remember like a nanosecond of it, and then it would be gone.
Yes. It does start to bring in more information. And then anyone you notice in a dream that has a title, be it hotel clerk, Uber driver, doctor, anyone with a title, that's a guide.
Mm,
So pay particular attention to what they are saying and doing. Typically, they're encouraging you to do something, or just giving you some advice. So that's just something to kind of key in on, can be really useful. And a great resource for listeners is go to Michael Sheridan's website. You can put in just Google Michael Sheridan Dream Interpreter,
mm,
because I'm not remembering the exact name of the website. And there's a free dreams dictionary on there that you can download, and then you can look up symbols,
mm,
because you're like, well, what does this hotel mean? For instance, I didn't know hotel represents our birth,
mm,
because a hotel is a place you stay. So that's representing us coming to earth and our birth.
mm.
So, and then if you're dreaming about, for instance, multi-level buildings, that can often be representing our unconscious, our subconscious, our conscious self, that type of thing.
Mm.
So, but he's just got some really wonderful information in there.
Right on. And that website one more time?
Um,
Well, his name,
I,
I'm
I'll
sorry.
have to, yeah, it's Michael Sheridan, Sheridan, and put in Michael Sheridan dash dream interpreter. I
Okay.
think it's Ashling, but I'll look for it. I'll get you the correct link and send it to you, and we can put it in the show notes if that would
Yeah,
work.
absolutely.
I'll find that for you.
Yeah. And so do you find in your experience, we talked about like, using some hypnotherapy. Is it similar in your opinion or your experience to just kind of paint that picture for folks who they might not understand how it works? Is that hypnotherapy almost like a form of dreaming?
Yes, that is a great question and a great analogy. It is like, because we're in the same, very similar state when we're falling asleep at night, and we're like half awake, half asleep, or when we're first waking up in the morning and we're drowsy and we're in that same theta state. That is the state that you're looking for. So that's why we go to a healing temple and then meet with the guides. We've got some wisdom and support before going into the past life, which can be the scenes earlier in this lifetime, or even future or parallel, as we recapped earlier. But it's just that wonderful kind of open state where you get out of your left brain, you get out of your busy, busy, busy ego, and the mind is just relaxing, because we dream in the right side of the brain. That's where the images are stored that we use in that dream bank or that dream dictionary that we pull from. And just getting to that place where we're more center brained, just being centered in any and every way, including our brain. And we're, really facile and moving back and forth between the left and the right brains, and we're centered, is just a great place to be. So yes, that's what's going on. And then there's positive, respectful suggestions given, and if they are not in alignment with that person's beliefs, that's fine. They're not going to follow them. You have your free will even during a past life regression session, because it's done very respectfully, and your higher self and your guides are there. They're architecting it. So it's not like your hypnotherapist is doing entertainment hypnosis, which is like dance like a chicken, and you're
Right.
trying to have people up on stage do things that are amusing for the audience.
Mm,
And those are highly susceptible clients. We seldom have clients like that, and we're not giving suggestions like that. Also, in those shows, honestly, there can be some plants.
Mm,
There's some people that are there for entertainment value that are
sure.
just going along with whatever is suggested to
Right.
make it entertaining for the group. They're hired for the high school or the college graduation, party kind of thing, or it's the Las Vegas type of show. So,
Right.
but this is sacred space. There's no suggestions given to you. I cannot, nor would I want to give a suggestion to someone to, I don't know, commit a crime or something. It just doesn't
Right.
even make any sense.
Right.
So, you can let go of concerns like that.
Right.
And everything's recorded for you. And I personally needed that when I was a client at first, because I thought, well, gee, what if there's suggestions? I don't know how this works. What if there's suggestions given that don't align with my integrity, that don't align with my values? Because I don't know what, this unknown person who,
Sure.
seemed great on the phone, but we've had all of 15 minutes of a conversation, before I go to her office and have this session. So that's the beauty of the recording is you can just relax, and also you can just close your eyes. You're not trying to take notes because that's not going to get you to a nice relaxed state. If you're trying to, one eye open and take a note and then try and relax, it's, you're like
In and out.
really working your against yourself. Just know you've got the recording. And if you're at the point where you don't even trust someone else make the recording for you, that's fine. Make your own recording, and you'll know the recording's not been changed. And I'll make a confession. I don't even know how to edit Zoom recordings. The whole thing runs. It's, non-glamorous. So if we
Right.
take a bathroom break, we just say, okay, leaving the recording running. See you in 2 minutes. Or,
Right.
if my dog barks, or it's all there, or the person's, child is, in the other room and there's like a little bit of background noise. It's all there. It's authentic and real because it's all there.
Right.
So
And how long have you been doing this?
I started doing this. I found Journey of Souls in 2010. I had my first past life regression myself as the client 2011. I had my first Life Between Lives as the client 2012. And my first 2 quantum healing hypnotherapy sessions 2013. And from those 4 sessions over the 3-year period, I knew it had helped me so much. It had changed my life so much. I knew at that point I was meant to train. So I then trained in 2014, and I started right away because I had heard, I'd been given good advice. A lot of people train and then get in their left brain, oh my gosh, what do I do? What if I don't do it perfectly? So I started right away and just, started with some lovely friends and offered some complimentary sessions to get started. So
Right on.
that's what happened. So 2014.
Wow. Awesome. Well, that's great. And still love it. Still enjoy every moment of it.
Yes, I really do. And I just learn more every time. And I think that's kind of the typical teacher because I'm a certified spiritual teacher. And I just love to learn from people's sessions. And I make sure that they're not cookie cutter. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of structure in that we typically go to a healing temple and then meet their guide and then do the past life portion, which might be the inner child work needs to go on, or the shadow work needs to go on, and then go to up to the light, heaven, whatever's the correct term, belief system for that person, and go to the place of all knowledge. But other people, it's different. It's just, we're just working to get the best connection we can with their higher self and their guides. And I just let them tell me. And they'll just tell me and say, Wendy, there's not really any past life energy. We can just skip that section because they have a lot of questions and they really want to get to their book of life. Or another person might be having a lot of physical issues. I worked with a gal recently and she'd had just a triple play of physical issues that were really, really causing problems. So we spent a lot more time in the healing temple. because it wasn't past life related for her. So it's just, regardless if you're doing the 2.5 hour or the 4 hour session, or you're jumping straight into the 3 month program or the 12-month program, or converting to those at a later date. The guides are so brilliant. I mean, that's a big part of their brilliance, is they know what you most need, and they know what you're most going to react positively to, what you're going to get the most benefit from. Some people just can't wait to reunite with a beloved dog or animal that passed on, or a loved one, a grandparent, a parent, a sibling, a childhood friend that died prematurely, whoever it might be. And that's, their healing moment. So we're going to get there. I never know. I never know where it's going to go. I recently, last week, had a client who had a beautiful healing that was off planet. And I noticed when we were going up to the light, she said, "Oh, higher, higher. We need to go higher. We need to go higher." And I thought, oh, this is interesting, because I could sense galactic travel, and we were really going high. And she then located a spaceship and was so thrilled to go back into that spaceship. And she saw a beautiful table as a healing table for her. And that's where she needed to get her healing. So you just never know. It's not like I say, go to the nearest spaceship and jump on the healing table.
Right.
It's just what's coming up is always what's right for that person. Because again, it's their higher self and guides. And I'm just asking to connect respectfully with them via my higher self and my guide. So we've got quite the party going sometimes.
I'd say.
It's like, I can sense there's like 25, even more, like 40, 50 beings of light. And sometimes people will say, well, my eyes are closed, but I can just sense there's so much light in my room right now. And it's like, yeah, I'm sensing that too. Because all these marvelous beings of light are coming in to assist. That's pretty special.
Yeah. That sounds incredible. It's just so wonderful, like, that people can have that experience and just,
Yes, without having the trauma of the near-death experience, of what caused them to have their near-death experience. They haven't had their heart stop, or they're not bleeding out, or whatever it might be that's causing the near-death experience, because those can be amazing of how they enhance and change and improve people's lives. But there's obviously some trauma going on too.
Right. And I know you were so wonderful to share with us your experiences on our last conversation, so it's life transformative, I'm certain.
Yes. Well, we just all go through those certain moments where it's like, oh my goodness, this is a really big one. And there can be the fun little ones too. Like just today, I took my oldest daughter to this specialty shoe store, because she is a 4th-year veterinary student. So she is really on her feet. And it was really interesting, because when I went to this specialty shoe store for myself, and it's like a 40-minute drive, so it's a little bit of a hike, not the typical mall shoe store. And when I was there maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I wasn't thinking about my daughter. I was just getting something for me. But as I was there in the store, I heard, you're going to need to bring your daughter here. Your daughter's going to need to come here. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So then here she is in town doing this clinical rotation. And she's like, boy, I just haven't fully recovered from the foot surgery. And I'm really having trouble with my feet, because I'm on my feet so much, doing surgery and being in clinic and, such long days. And I said, I know the perfect place to take you. Let me give you, send you this website, take a look at it. And so, yes, they got her to the point, literally in 45 minutes in the store, she was walking around and she said, I don't have any pain. I can't tell you how much better this feels already from what we figured out with some different shoes and some different inserts and those sorts of things. So, it's neat when we can just get to that point where, because that was my guides telling me that, you're going to be bringing Tara here.
Okay. And
like, okay.
Didn't know why at that point in time.
Right. Because I didn't know she was having that much trouble recuperating from the surgery. And she, at that time, was not on her feet so much like she is now that she's in 4th year and doing these clinical rotations.
Wow. Now, we talk about guides. I'm sure there are folks who probably have questions. They probably read about these things, but they don't really know what it entails.
Sure. So that's a great place. Let's just start with the basics. My belief is that we all have amazing spirit guides, and you might feel it as your intuition. I work with some people that are just business people, and spirit guide, it's a little too out there for them. And again, it just depends on your belief system. But if you've had those strong feelings of, it might be deja vu, of, oh my goodness, this place or this person or this experience feels so familiar, or just your intuition of, oh my gosh, I just met this person 5 seconds ago, and I just know we are going to be best friends. I just can't wait to catch up with them. Now, if you've just met the person 5 seconds ago and you can't wait to catch up with them, that's quite an interesting little nudge of maybe you've known this person before. So that might be your own higher self, your own soul, or a guide telling you, ooh, this is a really cool connection. Or it can be the opposite too. You meet someone and you're like, oh, I know we're at this party or we're at this business lunch, but I just don't really want to get any closer. And oh, please don't make me shake hands. And oh, please, why are you hugging me? It's just like whatever social convention is going on. Sometimes we just need to kind of establish our boundary, particularly as empaths and high sensitives. Although wonderful creatives tend to fall in that category a lot of times, the musicians, the writers, the artists, and just being able to just follow that guidance. But I believe we all have spirit guides, and that their job is to unconditionally love us and support us and provide guidance. It's a spirit guide, and that they've got wonderful wisdom. It doesn't mean they're omnipotent or omniscient and they can do everything or know everything. But they've definitely got some amazing wisdom to share with us. And just to feel that unconditional love, that's a really big deal because we don't feel that very often. Love is typically conditional. So but when we can start to connect with them, and that is one of the top questions. Okay, if I can hope and believe that maybe I do have a spirit guide, or maybe you're starting to have like these little interesting experiences. Maybe you're seeing something, out of the far corner of your eye, but you can't quite catch it. Or you like hear like that little voice when you're just being really quiet. Maybe you're just relaxing. Or maybe you're like having a nice walk in nature and you're like hearing that little whisper of this wonderful intuition or guide. So we've got to just quiet that busy left brain, that go, and that like worry, and do type of energy, because we can get so caught up in that. And I don't think that the assault on our senses of all the media helps. Why do I need media when I'm pumping my gas? I used to enjoy 3 minutes of quiet while I was pumping my gas. I wish there was a way to turn that off because I find it super annoying. It's just too much information at us all the time. Or there's like some shopping carts that have like commercials running right in the shopping cart. Well, I'm going to hang my coat right over that.
Right.
Because again, it's just too much stimulation. I'd much rather be having more quiet time, more downtime to hear my own soul and to hear my guides. So some of the ways that you can start to connect with them, meditation. And then so many people will say, well, I can't meditate. It's so it's just so busy brain.
Right.
Just keep with it. It's a meditation practice. Doesn't mean every meditation will be beautiful and helpful. Sometimes you are writing the grocery list and maybe you need to reach over and grab the pad or grab the phone to write down those one or two items you just thought of, and then you can let go of it and return to your meditation. Or maybe you need to do walking meditation where you're out by the water or in the woods or by some trees. You're just trying to find your center. You're just trying to calm down all the busy brain so that guide can speak to you. So then when you've found your way, whether it's in nature or via meditation or any other spiritual practice, there's so many of them, yoga, drumming, running. That's why a lot of people get runner's high. You've really just emptied out that busyness in the brain and found your center in a really good way after a couple miles or whatever it takes you, of either walking or jogging or running. So that's my belief, is we do all have a guide, and guides can present in many ways. They might look human. They might look like an angel. They might be a friendly yet powerful totem animal. Maybe a lion is your guide. Maybe a deer, whatever it might be. Maybe it's an angelic being, as I said. Maybe a benevolent ET, a galactic being, or something from another dimension. Maybe it's a fairy, whatever it might be. So there's all these different forms. Might be a color, a sound. So just different things can happen. We'll see what happens during the meditation for people, because it can be so many different forms. An easy way, because I couldn't figure out how to connect with my guides in the beginning. But I was really motivated to. So I went to a lovely, a talented psychic medium, and she helped me connect and tell me who the guides were around me. They can be ancestors. So ancestors that have some wisdom. And I also asked that they be the highest beings of light, because there can also be ancestors with a little bit of an agenda. So, they may or may not be, so I just do preface it. It needs to be a high being of light, for my guide. So she helped me connect with them to start, and that was wonderful. And then I used oracle cards. And oracle cards I love because they're not complex to use. It's a deck of cards. They can have different numbers to the cards. There's so many of them. Hay House has some wonderful, hayhouse.com has wonderful oracle cards. They have maybe 50 different decks. Because if you get on Amazon, you might get overwhelmed by the thousands of decks of oracle cards. But there's something that you can work with really easily, and just you can pull a single card and just take a breath, close your eyes, get centered, and just say, what would you like me to know? Ask your higher self and guides, what would you like me to know? It can just be that simple, and just pull a card. And oracle cards, they have typically have little instruction booklets with them too. So there may be a little bit of info written on the card, but more in the book. Right. And they might have some simple spreads that you can do. Maybe you pull 3 cards of like past, present, future of what you might want to be focusing on. Or I might be, well, I really want to know about this, and I also want to know about this. So I'm pulling, 2 cards for that reason. But they're not hard to use at all. It's not like the tarot takes a bit more commitment and work to learn how to skillfully use that tarot deck. Mm-hmm. If you're drawn to it, wonderful. If you already use tarot, that's fantastic. But anyone can use oracle cards. A 5-year-old, a 3-year-old can use oracle cards. They can just be pulling a single card, but just having them focus first on what would you like help with, or or what's important for you today. What would make you happy today? That's a great question for a 3-year-old, or for a 30-year-old, or for a 90-year-old. And just, pull the card and see what that message is. Mm-hmm. So that's another way to connect with your guides. Also in the dreams, as I said. And meditating, you can also learn to auto-write. So just having that blank notebook page and writing at the top of it, if you're really wrestling with a question, that's a fantastic time to get some advice from your guide and just write down that question at the top of it, meditate for 5 minutes, and then just pick up that pad and take no thought. Just start writing immediately. And you've got a good connection with your guide when you're auto writing. When you see new information come forward, when you see words that you don't normally use or may not even know, when I have to pull out the dictionary and look up words that come through in my auto writing and the definition is correct for the context, I'm like, ooh, thank you. Because now I really know it was a guide because I didn't know the word. So it's not me making it up. And also, hello, vocabulary builder. Who doesn't love that,
Seriously.
So, those are just some of the ways off the top of my head to connect with guides. What have you found, Jay? What works for you, or what have you seen questions about in that area?
Well, for me, meditation has always been the key for me, and started young enough. I dabbled in it in my teenage years, trying to really figure it out because I would read about it. As someone
That's
who,
wonderful.
yeah, and my mother, she would always encourage all of those things, and it was great. And my dad also was very, encouraging of
That's
that. So
fantastic.
yeah, it was just a wonderful, I guess, environment where my brother and I guess they always wanted to fan that flame of discovery and exploration, and so
Oh, that's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
What a great way to be brought up and to raise our children. I didn't even start to come to any of this practice or information or knowledge or seeking until I was 49.
right
So to
on.
compare the before and after, my guides commented, "Yes, you were stubborn about waking up. We were trying." And I had a near death experience when I was 34 that was profound, and that still didn't fully take. It took another 15 years for me to be able to unpack that and really understand. Oh, excuse me, I was 36 to really understand what that was about.
Yeah,
So it's the timing is what the timing is. We just you can't hurry it. It's what it's meant to be for you.
absolutely. It's funny because, you know, say going back to being a teenager, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was trying, so I was attracted to the concept, if you will. But then it took some time and some challenges in life and some trauma to, start really diving a little bit deeper, doing some more reading, but just more practice, and you brought up that point earlier, that's why it's called practice. Um,
Yes, yes. Because some meditations, all we do get out of it is the grocery list, and that's okay. Evidently, that's what needed to come out of your mind right then.
that's it. Right.
And then you can just refocus. I think personally, it's a fallacy to think we get to this state of perfect nothingness and we're thinking about absolutely nothing. Um, Perhaps some Zen masters who've been meditating for years and years and years, decades, can reach that point for very brief periods. But personally, I more love the Q&A with my guides,
Hmm.
and just to be able to have that relationship with them, not only in the dream time, but during meditation, or if I choose to do auto writing with it. I find that fantastic. Another way to connect with your guides is you can learn to muscle test. And the concept is our bodies are very wise. I mean, look at all the things our bodies just do automatically without us doing a thing. And also, there's something called the gift of fear. We've got a great self-preservation instinct. So if the hair on the back of your neck or your arms is standing up because you're in a certain situation, pay attention.
Yes.
That should be paid attention to, because there's something that may need to be, you may need to take an action. But just the muscle testing is there's three ways that I'm aware of to do it. There's probably more. And because we've got the camera on, I'll show you the simplest one is you just put you take your right thumb, the tip of your right thumb to the tip of your, your left thumb to your left forefinger, make a little circle, and then just loop your right fingers through it the same way. And now if you muscle test and if you're going to get a yes answer, it's going to be really hard to pull them apart. That's the truth. It just holds. So if I say, is my name Wendy? I mean, I cannot pull my hands apart. I'm like literally feeling this in my upper arms. It's just that strong. Is my name Jay? I mean, I wasn't doing anything different. It's just the answer was no, it's not true. So they pulled apart immediately. So that's one way of muscle testing. And it's a way you can connect and talk with your higher self and guides. So start off with simple things. Don't start off with, should I take my entire world wealth and put it in crypto coin? Don't start off with that.
Maybe not. Maybe wait.
Start with something simpler and just really get your confidence going of, oh my gosh, I am getting great, reliable information via muscle testing. And it can really help you with making better choices, feeling more comfortable, more confident in your choices. You can also muscle test by standing. And that's actually my favorite way to do it. And you just stand with your feet comfortably hips width apart and just center yourself, take a couple breaths, maybe close your eyes for a moment, maybe put your hand over your heart and just get as motionless as you can standing. And now once you've learned the technique, because the idea is body as a pendulum, and you're going to sway forward for a yes answer. So I learned in a book called The Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson. What you train yourself is the forward motion is you use the word love because we just instinctively go toward love. And that's your yes answer. So if I was standing right now and, is my name Henley, my dog's name, I wouldn't sway forward for yes. I'd sway backwards automatically for no. And you get that sway, you get that yes or no almost before you've asked the question. Wow. That's another hallmark of really connecting with your guides. You're auto writing so fast immediately. It's just, you don't have to think because this isn't about being in your left brain and thinking. It's the opposite. It's about being just really centered and bringing in that higher level information. But that muscle testing can really help too. So I do a lot of muscle testing. Some people use a pendulum and that's wonderful. You just have to learn how to use it. But I just figured, now I'm going to have to find it and untangle it. I was just picturing it in my purse. So I just chose to muscle test by standing. And I'm sure that my guides led me to that book and to that technique because I had frozen hips. And that was very painful. It was very uncomfortable. And it was hard to get unlocked. So I'm sure that's why they had me doing so much standing muscle testing because it also helped my hips unlock because I couldn't even begin to do yoga in the beginning. If you've got frozen hips or hips that are, that locked up and they show you this fancy dancy yoga position, I'm looking at them like, you've got to be kidding. I can't even sit cross-legged on the floor in the most easy cross. I can't do it. My hips are too locked.
Right.
So that muscle testing, really helped with that. And being able to muscle test with your fingers, that one's nice because it's super discreet. So if you're on like this big Zoom call and they're asking for volunteers and you're like on the fence and you're like, would this be good for me? I wish I could decide right now. You can just have your hands in your lap and no one's going to see them. Or, you're in a big meeting in person. You can just, or at the kitchen table, you can just, what's my highest and holiest? What is the best for me? Because some of us are pleasers, some of us over volunteer, and then we can get stressed out, burned out because we're not respecting ourselves. We don't know how to say, let me think on that. I need to sleep on it. Let me get back to you in a day or two. But if we don't have that vocabulary or don't have that, or really feel we're put on the spot, we can just end up not following our guidance, because it's really all about what is our spiritual guidance, what's best for us. And I don't feel that's being selfish. I feel that's how we are able to live our purpose, because we're going to have the energy, and we're going to be saying yes to the right things and letting other things go, because either they don't need to be done or someone else is meant to pick up on them.
I couldn't agree more with that. I can align with it because, at least for me, it was getting into the flow of things, getting into that flow of that, whether intuition, spirit guide, but just knowing yourself and knowing this is the path. This is a path that makes sense to my being and my soul and who I am.
Yes.
And
do you feel lit up? Do you feel, oh, wow, this really brings me joy? And when you're sitting, I spent most of my career in hospital administration. When you're in healthcare, you live in meetings because they're very complex organizations.
Right.
And a lot of things did not bring me joy, but that didn't mean I wasn't being asked to be on that committee or on that whatever. But once I learned to muscle test, I found I was much more in my power. And I much more volunteered and said yes to the right things right away. And just with the others, it's like, that's not fitting with the focus that I have at work right now. And I think someone else could better serve on that committee. Just the wording was just coming up better.
Right. It's great because I feel like, especially in, we are in a society where we're constantly trying to just keep going. We're trying to, the hustle, so to speak. So a lot of people don't want to say no. They just want to say yes. They get inundated. Their plates are too full, more stress, more anxiety, missing deadlines. And they're doing this to themselves because they don't know how to set healthy boundaries.
Exactly. I mean, when you look at what we're doing with our grade school through high school children, and I'm talking before COVID, but with all the lessons and sports and extracurricular and enrichment, and the fact that these are not typically offered at the school, because in my day, I was fortunate and my parents were fortunate because everything was right at the school. So if you were doing sports or extracurricular, you took the late bus home. You went home at 4:30. Or if you really were going had a lot of things going, you took the late bus home at 6:00. And your parents, they might be working, they might be doing whatever, but you were able to fully participate in things that made sense for you. Or you came home, at 2:30 in high school or whatever.
Right.
But now it's this big, oh my gosh, I'm driving them to Mandarin, and now I'm driving them to violin. And it's like, how are working parents supposed to do this? And these kids are melting down because they're so overscheduled. I don't think some of them know how to lay down in the grass and look at the clouds. Well, that's a lovely pastime, and kids should be able to have time to do that. And just, use their imagination and have the child-directed play. But something changed in our society, and we thought, well, I want to help my kid get ahead. So it was very, do I want to say it was well-intentioned? I think it was. You can hear my pause on that. But it just changed so much, and really, really became an issue because it was stressing the parents out too.
Yeah.
Of all these activities and trying to be all these places. And again, all this driving, it just was not making sense.
Right. And like you said, even from a scheduling standpoint, with the parents, and even take into consideration how many single parents are out there working and trying to make ends meet and still take care of the children and give them all the opportunities they can.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really, it's quite the rat race. So as you said, just that, that hustle, that go. And when we really learn, it's more about being. And yes, we need to be responsible and to be taking care of business and, have our jobs and take care of school.
Sure.
But can we be being peace, being love, being joy? Can we just be in those energies? Because we know when we're around those people, they just light up the room and everyone is magnetically attracted to them because they're being in that energy versus the do. I mean, you can see who's there enjoying the party and who's there, working the party. Oh my gosh, one canapé is missing from the tray. I've got to refill the tray and wipe it off. It's really okay.
Right.
People just more want to socialize. And I mean, sure, you need to, clear and refresh food and drinks at certain points, but take that analogy now to life. And you can just, see the people that have the confidence to just more be really enjoying their life to the best of their ability versus just trying to get to this end point and then realizing, oh my gosh, now I'm retired and perhaps I have poor health or, these other things that are going on. So it's quite interesting how we try and balance that up and then have conversations with baby boomers versus millennials versus Gen X. It's just fascinating of people embracing, it's experiences. I really don't need more stuff. I'm really here to enjoy, and I really want to go on that hot air balloon ride. And so let's make that happen. Is that what we do for our birthdays this year together, type of thing versus buying more stuff if stuff is not needed. So I think a lot of people are starting to more embrace that.
Absolutely. I agree with all of that 100%. And to touch on something you had said earlier, I remember as a teenager, I remember talking to friends and always saying to my mother, like, I just want to be a human being, not a human doing. And that was always my biggest thing was like, I don't need to be constantly doing all of these different things. I just want to be. Why can't we just be?
And you said that as a teenager.
Yeah, I was a kid telling my mom that.
That is amazing because I did not even begin to know that was a possibility or a concept until I was well in my 30s. And this gal who I worked with at New England Memorial Hospital in Stoneham, and I don't think New England Memorial is there anymore. No. It was the Adventist Hospital, and she was the chair of psychiatry's assistant. And she said, we need to remember we are human beings, not human doings. And I just stopped in my tracks and turned around and said, what did you just say? I had literally never heard it. I had never thought of it. I've had my MBA degree since I was 22. So I just proved my own point, didn't I? But I just was so struck by it. And I thought, oh, wow, she is so right. Because we've got to get off this hamster wheel.
Yes.
Because it's not bringing satisfaction. It's not bringing health. It's not bringing, and people can, perhaps they'll earn the wealth that they thought was going to make them happy and find out, no, it really didn't.
Right.
So just, getting some balance to those things.
Right. Which is why I agree with when you said it's about experiences, really. The stuff, yeah, I get enough stuff.
Sure.
Sure. But there's things we need, and there's
exactly.
There's luxury, of course, we treat ourselves. I get that, but it's the experiences and those memories that we create and that we enjoy and that we remember for a life truly fulfilled,
Exactly. Yes. I know, a gentleman who knows he is meant to extensively be doing world travel. He just loves it. He writes about it. It lights him up like nothing else. So he lives very simply, very frugally, and he's decided, I'm not going to own a home. I'm not even going to rent my own place. I'm going to find a compatible housemate and just rent a room. That is all I need in life. And, my straightforward car, because what I'm going to do is every 2 years or so, I'm going to go on a major trip. And I'm talking, 3 months.
Wow.
Type of world travel. So when you get to know yourself that well, that's fantastic. That you can be really, really embracing the experiences. Bucket lists. I like them in the sense of really think about what experiences you want to have, but do not leave them as future, because a lot of people, the concept is, bucket list. That's for when I retire.
Right.
That's for when I get wealthy. That's for, they're pushing it in the future all the time. And I say it's really meant to be happening now. And if you can't financially make it happen, get creative. Again, I'll just tell a funny story on myself. I wanted to go to the Nora Jones concert. I just think she's a wonderful, wonderful performer and singer.
Absolutely.
Well, I didn't act quite quickly enough and tickets sold out. But what I realized is, you know what? I can still go to that winery and I can still take my picnic dinner and we can relax with a bottle of wine and sit outside the gates because they allow you to do that. So it's like, there's a different way to have the experience. So don't just say, oh, well, it's not going to happen. I didn't get a ticket in time. I'm still going to Nora Jones.
That's what I'm talking about. And you're 100% correct, right? That perception piece, right? You found a solution. Is it the exact scenario? It might not be the exact scenario, but you chose to find this path that's still positive. You're still going to have that experience. I love that.
Exactly.
Oh, we talked a bit about like being human beings, right? And the busy hustle bustle of things. And then we talked a little bit, and we're going to do this, is meditation and how that can really, truly help individuals.
Yes. And if you find it hard to lie down or sit down and do meditation, if you just can't get into it, do a walking meditation, meaning, as I said, go be out in nature. And it doesn't have to be this 6-hour climb the Himalayas. It can be 15 minutes of just, this simple, particularly if you can be by water or trees or the woods, it really just helps us balance. And that absolutely is a valid way to meditate because you're going to come back feeling refreshed. You're going to come back not feeling just, so frazzled from the days or the weeks. So that's a wonderful way to do it. Or you can listen to guided meditations. I mean, there's apps you can have on your phone. Just find a voice, find an energy that you like, and just listen to that. Also, if you have trouble falling asleep at night, that's why these things are so wonderful, because you can just relax with that and get better sleep. That's probably the number one thing that people tell me is an unexpected benefit of having done a session with me, is they say, my sleep is better. We somehow got me unwound. I am more relaxed and centered and grounded in general from having done even just that one session. And I love to hear that from people, because sleep is meant to be really restorative. It's meant to be healing. And we're a healthier weight when we get good sleep. That was so counterintuitive to me. And then my guides came in and said, well, part of why you're gaining weight that you don't want or need, Wendy, is because you don't sleep enough. And I'm like, but sleeping is not moving. How am I going to lose weight by not moving, by sleeping more? That made no sense to me. But there's study after study. And again, my guides told me that. So, and they were absolutely right. They were absolutely right. So,
Got to get sleep. Got to get that rest.
exactly, because our cells just rebuild and just rejuvenate in a better way, and just our psyche just calms down, and we can have those useful, helpful, uplifting dreams because we're just unweaving things, unlocking things. Another thing that I do, that my guides, actually, is my first spiritual teacher, but then my guides kind of took over on it, is I just put a bowl of salt, just any kind of plain salt, in a white bowl, underneath my bed, like up where my pillow would be. And if I'm having, great dreams, easy dreams, sleeping well, I just leave that salt alone. But if I'm having, nightmares, trouble sleeping, then I change that salt more frequently. Because
Mm.
what I'm just requesting is anything that doesn't serve me, nightmares, bad dreams, stress, whatever's going on, you can just hit that salt bowl.
That's it.
You can just empty on out and just hit that salt bowl. And then I throw it away, and I literally get rid of it outside the house. I don't even
Nice.
throw it away within the house. It's outside the house. And I went through a big pain release. I had a physical pain release last summer that was very unpleasant.
Hmm.
And it was both knees. I was all of a
Ah,
sudden having all these problems with both knees, which I'd never had before. And I was on a trip. It was like 2 weeks away from home. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is really impact. I cannot do nearly as much on this vacation as I wanted to. But my guides were like, well, we needed to get you through this big release. So we had to choose a quieter time for you. And when I got home and had my salt bowl again, because I didn't have it on the trip, when I got home, it's like, okay, we can just release this pain, release this pain. Within about 3 days, Jay, I pulled the salt bowl out of the bed, under the bed one morning, and the bowl actually broke. It had this huge, like, cutout. It looked like a machine had cut. I mean, how would a Corel ceramic bowl just break? It wasn't dropped.
right.
It wasn't, it was like a shape to it. And so
Wow.
as I pulled it out, I'm like, why is there salt going everywhere? And then I looked, I'm like, there's this big hole in the bowl. And I picked up, it was like a starfish shape to it almost. So somehow, I can't explain it. That was the energy. I took a
Just
picture of it. I'll have to see if I can find the picture, because it was like, look at that. But I was
wow.
releasing pain.
Yeah.
And guess what? Within about a month after that, zero knee pain. So I did have some huge release, and that helped me directing it
I'd say.
to that bowl. And
Right.
hey, I'm happy to sacrifice my $2 Corel bowl.
Right. Go to Goodwill and get another one.
Exactly. But I've never seen anything like that. It just was really, really interesting. So it was a big energy release that my guides were helping me with, because I kept saying, how do I release this out of my body? What's the
Right.
lesson? What am I missing? Is there anything I'm not doing? And they're like, well, we just need to bubble up this really. I'm like, but look at the stand-up paddleboard. I'd really love to go try that on the lake, but I can't even
Mm.
imagine. I can't physically do that right now,
Right.
even though it's right there.
Right.
So it was, yeah, just so grateful to have released that.
And I'm sure it put you on by not being able to participate in things where you were going to need that agility, it put you on this whole other trajectory that was completely different that needed to get you on that other path.
Yeah, 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 it did. It did. We certainly did some different things. And because I was having so much pain, I mean, normally I can, hop in and out of a boat, pretty darn
Sure.
well. But I did choose. I'm like, okay, will you take my arm? Will you help me, get in here, because I'm having a lot of knee pain. So I just, didn't want to be between the dock and the and the boat.
Right. No, thanks.
So needed to ask for more help than normal, and that, that's just the way it is. We should ask for what we need, and
Yeah.
often we don't do it. Often we just don't do it.
Right. There's an apprehension there, I think, because it's maybe not talked about enough. Maybe there's a lot of information that isn't made available to these individuals. Maybe they're not sure where to find it. Maybe they're little concerned with it. Maybe it's a little outside of their box. So they're a
Yeah.
little apprehensive about it.
Yeah. 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 I didn't feel the need to share. I was having this major energetic release. I was just like, you need to help me get in and out of the boat. It was just that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me tell you about my guides. Yeah.
Right. Because it depends on the audience. It just depends on, you have to be at the right level for people.
Absolutely.
So that's why with business people, we don't talk guides, we talk intuition.
Right on.
Because that's what's comfortable, and that it just resonates. That's what makes sense to them. Because you can train people. Typically, you can feel your intuition somewhere in your body. Usually for people, it's either like in their gut, like kind of deep in their gut, or in their heart. Usually people can feel, their intuition and their guidance somewhere like that. It is not up here.
No.
In that busy brain. We've got to get, more down in our bodies.
Yeah. I usually, for me, it's always in my chest. Whenever I feel something, and sometimes my back. It's interesting.
Yes. Yes, can feel it there too, or can just feel like the tingles, or feel like the confirmation.
Yes.
I went through a big stage that I loved when I was first starting to really hear my guides. I would get like a neurological response. I could feel the tingles,
right,
and they would like tend to go down my back, or they might go all the way down my arms or down my legs. But that was like the yes from my guides, and I knew I was connecting. So, and then at a certain point, it went away. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I doing it wrong? Why is this different? And it was just a new stage. And thankfully, at that point, I was able to communicate with them clearly enough. I said, why do I not feel that, anymore or very often? They said, Wendy, we'd be just like tingling you all day long. And that there's no point to that. And it's not, it wouldn't be comfortable. You'd be like, all day long. You don't need that.
Right.
So we save it for the really big ones, because you've now switched to clairaudience and you just hear us and we're just talking. So you don't need that at that point. But it was a wonderful starting point. So some people will describe it as God bumps.
Yeah.
They'll say, I've got the goosebumps that feel just really special, like on my arm, and they'll call it God bumps. They just know they're really connecting with something.
I love that.
A higher power.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So we talked a little bit about doing this, and I would love for this. You're gonna walk us through a guided meditation. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So let's do that. And let's just set this up for everyone to get physically very comfortable. If you're driving, you do not want to do this. You want to save this for when you can sit somewhere comfortably. Even better, lie down. Just relax. You're welcome to take off your glasses. So let's just get comfortable. And I'm calling our higher selves fully into our bodies, with all that wonderful distilled wisdom across all lifetimes. And our higher selves are fully grounded to Mother Earth. Thank you for that energy we're able to pull up and all the things that Mother Earth gives us. And I'd like to call in our guides, the highest beings of light, whether your guide appears to you as a loving ancestor, as a friendly yet powerful totem animal, as an angel, as an ascended master, as a sound, as a touch, as a feeling, however your guide might appear to you, that is just perfect for you. So see yourself on a perfect summer day, just the right temperature. See yourself easily taking a walk up this nice little hill, easy hike. You're following the path. Sometimes it goes to the left, sometimes it goes to the right, and you are able to easily follow the path, knowing it's taking you higher and higher, enjoying the wonderful sun coming down, feeling it relaxing you, making you feel happy. and uplifted. You may notice some beautiful trees, flowers, shrubs, herbs on either side of the path. You're welcome to reach out and touch any of those that are particularly appealing to you. Perhaps you'll feel the petal smooth feel of a rose, for example, and smell that vibrant scent. You've now reached the top of the hill. As you look around you, you see you're in a grove of trees, a grouping of trees. As you step out of the grove of trees, you see you're in a beautiful natural clearing. Directly in front of you is another grove of trees. You sense your guide is there, so happy, so thrilled to reunite with you. Your guide now steps out of the grove of trees on their side and joins you. You're able to not only see your guide, but hear them, sense and know and feel what they want you to know. What does your guide look like? Be a moment of silence and you can just notice, how does your guide choose to present to you? It can be anything. Any of the examples I mentioned, they have a sense of humor. They can appear as a cartoon character or like an avatar. It can be anything. How does your guide present? Let's give that another moment as everyone's getting a feel for what their guide looks like. And now ask your guide what their name is. What name can you use for them? Yes, we've all had hundreds, if not thousands of names, so you can't get it wrong. It's whatever comes to your mind first, whatever you sense or feel or hear or see. They can use a whiteboard or a notebook and write their name for you. If it's in another language or long or difficult, you can use just their first initial if it's that scenario. But what's their name? Because this will help you connect with them on your own to be able to call on your guide by name. All right, very good. Everybody's getting a feel for their guide's name. And now your guide is going to present you with a wonderful gift. And you're welcome to receive that gift box from them. You're able to easily remove the lid and look inside. You can clearly see what this wonderful gift is you're being given. It can be anything. What is your guide gifting you? And go with your first instinct. Yes, sometimes a gift might change or become more clear, but just trust yourself. And how do you feel about this gift? Does it bring up any emotions? And this gift that you're being given, it is going to positively impact your life today. It's going to have significance and meaning to your life today. And if you don't understand the meaning of the gift, just ask your guide. Ask them what it represents or means. And your guide now has a message to share with you. And you're able to clearly hear your guide, sense, feel, know, see. They might write it for you on a whiteboard or a notebook. Any way you'd like them to write the message for you, if that's the way you perceive information. Your guide is now sharing a message. You'll be able to clearly remember the message. You can ask them questions about it. If you don't quite understand the message, great time to practice talking with your guide, communicating with your guide. You'll clearly remember the gift you were given, the significance and any emotions that brought up. You'll clearly remember the name you've agreed on and what your guide looks like, how they presented. Even if you couldn't clearly see them or couldn't clearly see their face, you've done it just right. So you're welcome to now thank your guide for having presented for you, and you're able to connect with them whenever you want to. Your guide is never too busy for you. You're able to speak with them and work with them and feel that unconditional love and true healing. Feel that wisdom and support. So you're welcome to thank them for being your guide, thank them for the message and the gift. You're welcome to give them a hug or wave or bow or whatever feels right to you, because they're now going to turn and go back into the grove of trees on their side. And you're going to do the same. You're going to turn and go back into the grove of trees on your side and come back down the hill more quickly than we went up, feeling calm and confident and happy that you're now able to connect with your guide on your own. I'm going to count to 5, and on the count of 5, you'll be fully back in your body, feeling wonderful, refreshed, renewed, rejuvenated, and with a fantastic new ally in your life. The more you call on your guide, the more you work with your guide, the better that connection and information will get. 1, 2, coming back to the present day and time, feeling wonderful, refreshed, grounded, fully in your body. 3, 4. When you're ready, you're welcome to gently open your eyes. You can wiggle your fingers and toes to feel yourself fully back in your body, wonderfully grounded, tuned back to the current day and time, gently, gently coming back to the current day and time, now fully connected with your guide. 5, you're fully back in your body, fully awake, feeling wonderful, connected with your guide. And I so look forward to hearing some of your fun adventures and fun things that you find out. I'm sure Jay would love to see those in the comments of what people are comfortable sharing. Absolutely. So Jay, is there anything that you're up for sharing? Were you able to connect with your guide?
Yeah. Full disclosure, it was fuzzy at first. It took a little bit, but like I started getting this image that I couldn't quite figure out. And I'm just off the riff here, like it was like a bunched up face, or like something almost like I saw as a kid, like as like a painting of like a Santa Claus, like kind of bunched up face. But then it started changing, and then it turned into, over time, it really started resonating with someone that I knew or used to know, which is a family member.
Okay.
And then it kind of just morphed from there. And then her name resonated with me. And the in the box was a gold sandal. Like it was like a sandal with like the two straps that were like kind of wide strap, but like
single gold sandal.
Single sandal. And
was
they're
it
like
the right or the left? Do you know?
I couldn't tell.
Okay.
I just visualized this like, two band like strap sandal, and it was like kind of like they're gold, but they were a little distressed. Like the surface was a little distressed. That's all I can remember. And remembering it was this relative, I remember her, and then it just kind of was like, wow. But it wasn't crystal clear right from the jump. But that's what I visualized.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And did she share any message, or did that not resonate?
Not words. Yeah, words I couldn't discern. For me,
did you feel in your heart?
I felt something, and I saw something, and for me, it was a blue triangle.
Okay. So you got some sacred geometry. Yes. And if we'd been doing it one-on-one, because doing it one-on-one is very different, because of course we're doing questions and answers. So I know exactly, what's happening with the person, and we can probe it further. When we do it this way, it's like we're kind of imprinting it for everybody. So suggestion for anybody, because it's very common to have it be kind of indistinct at first. Give yourself a little dial and just like tune it in like you would like with an old-fashioned radio dial, and just say, I'm safe, I'm protected. I would just really like to experience my guide. If that time is now, let's just, sharpen the focus and just make whatever request feels right to you. And also just, you can listen to it again and do it another time and have more fill in.
Right.
Or as you're falling asleep at night, you can ask for a useful dream that you will remember and be able to accurately interpret.
Okay.
So, that can be helpful too. And for people who really just don't remember their dreams, I was one of those. It's like, and again, guilty of so shorting myself on sleep that's why I wasn't remembering the dreams. But there's two techniques to help remember the dreams that I learned from Michael Sheridan that really work and were very helpful. You can just put a glass of water or bottle of water next to your bed. So put that on your nightstand. And as you're falling asleep, just take a little sip of water and say, I will remember my dreams. And then in the morning, when you first wake up, I now remember my dreams. Take a sip of it again. I now remember my dreams. And see if that brings them out for you, because you set the intent and then, you're completing it. All that got me the first time I did it was my cat thought that was wonderful fun and drank from my water glass. So I realized I had to change to a water bottle, but that's okay. The other technique Michael teaches is sometimes we're really good sleepers, we're really deep sleepers, and therefore you're not remembering it because you're kind of like below that conscious level of dreaming. So just choose a night when you don't have to vault out of bed in the morning, and set your alarm for 1 hour before you actually have to get up. So let that alarm wake you, say at 6 a.m. instead of at 7. And just when it wakes you up, go, do I remember any of my dreams? You can combine the water with it also. And do I remember anything? And then, jot it down in the notebook, or you can say it to your phone,
right?
Or write it to your phone, depending if there's other people around. And however you want to do that, just make it easy for yourself. So you're not waking yourself up is the idea. So just trying to stay in that, kind of twilight zone where you're going to remember it. And then set your alarm again for an hour later when you really have to get up. You will almost 100% now have a dream because you brought yourself up to like a lighter level. And that's where the dreams are going on. So, and because you did the work to really set it where you're going to remember the dreams. So now just have fun. Start looking at those dream symbols. Look for those guides in the dreams, that sort of thing.
Wow, those are great.
And he offers wonderful classes and courses, and he also has a radio program. It's a lot of fun to listen to. So shout out to Michael Sheridan for his great work. And it's very aligned with the guides, as
Mm,
well as with people's purpose. So,
that's great. And speaking of those things, how about your website? How can folks find you?
yes, I can be reached at my website, which is my full name, wendyrosewilliams.com is my website. And you can request a complimentary 15-minute phone appointment there. And I'd be happy to talk with you, see how I might be of service. So that's available. And you'll also find a lot of different radio programs and just different things that I've done there on the website, as well as my books.
Awesome. Well, Wendy, thank you. I cannot thank you enough for doing the show again. It really means the world to me.
My absolute pleasure, Jay. I just so appreciate that you have this forum and getting to share with you and share with your listeners. It's wonderful.
And there you have it. I cannot thank Wendy enough for her time, her space, her energy, and definitely the guided meditation. You can find Wendy and request your 15-minute complimentary session at wendyrosewilliams.com. And you can find Wendy on Instagram at WilliamsWendyRose. I know I say it a lot, but I really can't thank you all enough. You help me more than you realize. Until next time, take care of one another and keep thinking for yourself.